everyone. I'm Kristen Ciccolini.
And I'm Janine Mulone.
And you're listening to It's Just a Phase. Each week, we'll bring you inspiring and informative conversations about honoring the different cycles of life, covering topics of health and wellness, moon phases, astrology, witchcraft, feminism, and more, so you can superpower your well-being and live your best life.
Here we are. Yet again.
I paused
mid-October.
I paused for a second because I thought that my internet fucked up. Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
Mercury Retrograde sure is coming.
Oh, she's here.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Good. I'm preparing for my membership to open up officially.
Oh my God. It's so exciting. Yeah. Doors are closed. So hope those of you who didn't take advantage of Kristen's awesome new membership offering are feeling some real FOMO right now. Just kidding. We love you and we don't want you to feel bad, but
yeah,
it'll
open again when you're ready to receive it. It will be there for you when the doors open again.
That's a nice diplomatic answer.
Yes. Well, so I wanted to do like moon circles, and it's like the perfect timing because there's a new moon on the 16th. So we're starting with like this intention setting circle, which I thought would be really fun.
Oh, I love that so much. So that'll be great for all of us. We have our new moon in Libra on 10/16. So whether you're with Kristen on her new moon circle or not, it's a great time to be setting those intentions. As always, with any new moon, we have our moon and sun in the same zodiac sign. So this week, we're talking all about Libra. It's not only a great time to set intentions just because of the lunar cycle, but because of that alignment, we really have like similar energies with our emotional and physical well-being with the sun and moon alignment. So right now we're kind of working with air. So we're talking about clarity. We can be thinking about movement. I really like to think about balance when I think about Libra. The sign that's associated is the what's the word I'm looking for? Scales. Doy. And so this is really like a nice time to think about what makes you feel content, what makes you feel taken care of, what makes you feel at peace. I know that balance in general is kind of one of those like eye-rolly words. Especially this year, it feels really, really hard to find balance, but start thinking about what actions you can take to quiet that anxiety or burnout. Where you need to sort of recalibrate a bit and set intentions around bringing more balance to your life, and beyond just yourself, how you can bring more balance and equity to your community. I think that's a great intention to be setting often, thinking about beyond yourself, but especially as we get nearer and nearer to the election.
Ugh.
Sorry, we made it 3 minutes without the big E word. Horrible.
Ugh,
but
yes.
True.
But Mercury stations retrograde on October 13th, so a little bit before the new moon. So we talked about this a couple times already, but we want you to give yourself some time and space to think things through. Pause before you act. Think before you speak. All of those cliches come in, but they're cliches for a reason.
Totally.
So hopefully today's episode will give you plenty of invitations to take that sacred pause. And if you do need a refresher on what to do for a retrograde, you can go back and listen to episode 4, where we talk about retrograde self-care. We talk about how to prepare and where it might be best to go slow and be more thoughtful. So yeah.
I might need to take a re-listen.
Yeah, seriously. And as we mentioned, it is election season.
It is election season. Check your mail-in ballot deadlines. There's a link in the show note for those postmark deadlines in every U.S. state. So all you got to do is click where you're already at. And, we've just kind of been thinking about, because of the pandemic, it really doesn't feel like there's one official election day this year because so many of us are voting early or mailing in. It really is election season, and it's happening now. We're in it. It's already started. So, doing what you can to not only make sure that you're voting and that you have your voting plan, but also continuing to encourage people to get out and vote. It's so, 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 so important.
Hmm. What's your plan? Are you mailing it in or are you going on election day?
We are going on election day, actually. Our polling place is super close to our apartment, and we always go before Dean goes to work. And it's like there's almost never anyone
Mm.
there at the time we go. So we feel very safe. We actually did inquire about working the polls, but the women who work our polling station clearly have been doing it every single election forever. They are so last when we voted in the primaries, I was like, really appreciative. Like, thank you so much. Like, we know it's a crazy time. Like, just appreciate you guys doing this. And they were like, oh, we wouldn't miss it. Like, they're like a little like gang of these older women. And
Oh,
there was a
yeah.
new woman who was helping at the table during the primaries. And let's just say it didn't seem like they were welcoming her with open arms.
Oh, no.
It
You know
was
what
like,
though? You're right that they do have the same people all the time. My grandmother
yeah,
used to do it. And she would
yeah,
go for the entire day and she would look forward to it. And it was,
totally.
it's their social, I mean, for some elderly people, it's part of their social life. So,
Yeah, like I would love, I really would love to be needed and would be happy to serve, but it seemed like I really would be, yeah,
you
potentially
can't sit
robbing
with
them.
us.
Yeah, a little bit, which is like, I mean, honestly, like, get it. But yes, that's what we'll be doing. I don't know, I'm like a real sucker for, like, I love voting. I love getting the sticker.
I
We
do
always go
too.
out and there's like a little diner close to us too. We always like vote and then have breakfast before Dean goes to work and we like start our day. It's like a nice tradition. Feels very.
Hmm.
What about you? What are you guys doing?
The same thing.
Yeah,
The polling place around us is really close to, and
nice.
I feel like no matter what time of day I've ever gone, no one is there. Like very
Yeah.
few people are there. So I don't feel that safety is an issue that day. And I
Yeah.
also don't trust the mail right now. Um, and I mean, the drop in, I love that there is an option to drop your ballot off at the drop boxes around town, but it's just so much easier to actually go on election day. So for me anyway.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's our plan. Yeah, we have a little tradition too. Usually, what we would do is vote and then go get a cocktail.
Oh my God, I love that.
Maybe not this time around, but yeah, we usually have a little voting tradition.
I mean, maybe not this time around, or maybe we'll need a cocktail more than ever.
Yeah, maybe.
I was actually just thinking the other day, I'm like, am I gonna watch like the news on election night? Because, like, I think obviously ballots will still be being counted for so long. And at the time of recording, we just saw the first of the presidential debates. So
Oh
considering just like what a
my
shit show that has all been.
God. Holy
Uh,
shit. I've never seen anything like that. Like, I knew it was going to be bad, but that was something never would have thought that I would ever have seen in my life, you know?
yeah. I think I just, in retrospect, I'm like, why did I even engage with it? To be honest, because like I know who I'm voting for.
Yeah.
And like I don't know what I was expecting to see or learn that wouldn't like I was expecting to be angry.
You go for the spectacle at this point.
Yeah,
And
so not
I
great.
probably will watch on election night, but it was the same thing with the debate. Like, do I want to watch the debate? The answer is no. But should I watch the debate?
Yeah.
Probably not. But will I? I will. You
Yeah, yes. Yeah,
know?
exactly. I just like keep thinking back. It's so bad. Like I just keep thinking back to 2016 and like I was I like usually do love to watch the results coming in because I'm like, I don't
Hmm.
know, I just find it so fascinating and whatever. And obviously thought things were going to go different last time, but Dean like ended up going to bed early. He was like, I really saw what was happening, and you were just like holding on so much hope.
Oh,
And so he like went to bed, and I was just up alone being like, what the fuck? So I don't know. I don't know if I want to relive
I
that. I
mean,
was
I'm
like,
sure I'll
either we're
watch it.
watching together all night or we're not watching at all.
Yeah, self-care. Lots and
Yeah.
lots of self-care around that
Yes.
time. And maybe part of your self-care is just turning it off.
Right. Set a boundary.
Yeah.
So either way, I hope you all have, first of all, I hope you all have your plan to vote, and I hope you all have a nice little ritual that you do. It's a very important, I know it feels like a small thing and we all feel very disheartened right now, but it's so important to get out there, cast your vote, and to like show yourself a little appreciation afterwards. I think it's make it fun, you know? I think that
Yeah.
people have this like association that it's like just boring or tedious or annoying, but like,
Oh my God, I never thought I would be into politics when I was younger, but like I listen to the NPR politics podcast. I am like so into it. And I'm sure like the 2016 election definitely like thrust me into that more.
yeah,
But I mean, not that I can't, the word enjoy is not the word for enjoying politics, but you know, it's something I want to be involved in. So
sure.
yeah, and it's important. So also a reminder to know your local election questions. That's
Hmm.
really important too, because that's I know we talked about last week how you get to the polls and you see like certain people that you're voting for that you're like, oh no, I don't know who this is, but
Yes.
also the different questions that you'll be voting on as well. So make sure that if you haven't gotten your pamphlet in the mail, go online, look for that, and then yeah, grab a cocktail afterwards.
Yeah, do something. Just a little, you know, again, we're all about, well, maybe in the name of Libra, find balance. Find balance in whatever feels like a little bit celebratory. I know that there's like, who knows what the outcome's going to be or what's going to happen, but good on you for doing your civic duty. I think
You
that's good.
deserve a high
A
five.
treat, a little treat. Yeah, exactly. You deserve a sticker and you deserve a cocktail. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yes. Anyway. Okay, so moving on. Today, if you're listening to this on the day that it comes out, today is Indigenous Peoples Day. This is a day to honor Native peoples throughout the US, so past, present, and future. And it's intended to bring awareness and recognition to our country's history of colonialism in Native communities and the impact that it still has today. And also, it's a celebration of the culture and its people's contributions. And there are currently over 600 Native nations in America, and Indigenous Peoples Day is a way to push for more representation for the 7 million Native Americans in this country and to center their experiences. So, in that spirit, we want to acknowledge that we're recording this podcast. I'm on Pawtucket in Massachusetts land, and Janine is on Wampanoag land. And we honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it through the generations.
Yes, so important. And if you want to honor Indigenous Peoples Day in your cyclical activism practice that we talked about last week, Illuminatives is an organization that fights against the invisibility of the Native community. It has a really great toolkit that reflects the needs of advocates during the pandemic and has a lot of helpful resources for you. Obviously, donating time and money directly to organizations is helpful, but you can support Indigenous led grassroots movements and campaigns, celebrate Native artists and storytellers, talk to your local representatives about abolishing Columbus Day if your city hasn't done that yet, generate awareness in your community. If you're a teacher, that toolkit has awesome lesson plans in there for you as well to sort of bring that to the classroom. There's a lot of ways to get involved, and again, just I think rally against the idea that, like you said, 7 million people feel underrepresented, not feel under, they in fact are, and are made to feel invisible. And this is a great day and a great week and a great time to be fighting against that.
So today it's Everyone is Intuitive Part 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Here we are.
And if you didn't know, we did a deep dive before we started recording on what Electric Boogaloo even meant and where that came from because I just like wrote it in our show notes.
Yes.
Janine, do you want to tell us a little history?
Yes. So there was a film in 1984, I believe, starring Ice-T, in which it was called Breakin' 2. Electric Boogaloo. It was about a breakdancing, from what I gathered, a breakdancing competition to fight a corporation who was trying to close down a community center.
Hell
Amazing.
yeah.
Love that. And wait, what was the tagline? It was like if you can't
If you
beat a
can't,
system, break it, which
yeah.
also love that. Love that so much. But apparently that concept, which is hard to believe, it doesn't sound like that, was a critically acclaimed film.
How
So
could it
so,
not be?
so now
Cinematic
Electric
masterpiece.
Boogaloo is is used to connote a less than ideal sequel, although I will say that this episode will be an amazing sequel to our first version of Everyone is Intuitive.
We're changing the perception of Electric Boogaloo,
Yeah.
okay?
You know what? We're breaking it. You can't see us, but we are actually also breakdancing
Yeah.
throughout this episode.
Oh, you learn something new every day.
Yep, you're welcome, everyone.
Well, way back in episode 2, we talked about how everyone is intuitive and how paying attention to cycles can help you develop or strengthen that intuitive connection. And we covered what intuition actually is, some common misconceptions about it, the difference between intuitive messages and your old friend, regular old anxiety. And we went through the 5 clairs, which are some of the ways that intuition can come to you. So, if you're a total beginner, start with that episode first and then come back here. Um, because today we're going to talk about the different ways that you can get started on working with your intuition. So, if you track your menstrual cycle, that's one really practical way of doing it, but we're going to go a little bit beyond that today.
Yes. Call it gut feelings, instinct, whatever you want, but intuition is a muscle we all have the ability to develop. We know the idea of starting to work with intuition can definitely be intimidating, so we have 5 steps for you that can be done together or individually as you begin working to tune in. And if you're someone like me who's maybe been out of practice recently because life has been a little crazy,
Hmm.
I'm, even as we were preparing for this episode, like reviewing these 5 kind of beginner or kind of basics just felt really good. And it's a nice way to reconnect with your practice.
Yeah, it's a nice reminder, especially, like you said, if all of your muscles
Yeah.
haven't been used lately.
Oi. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I am just a blob.
Yeah, I feel
But
that.
yeah, it's just I think that especially going into the time of year where like the days are getting, we were just lamenting before we started recording about how it's starting to get dark so much earlier. The election season's coming, the holidays are going to look different. Like I think that this is just a really good time to be reliant on those intuitive and spiritual practices as well, just for your own well-being. So felt like a good time to revisit. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah, especially like I am feeling fall, right, corresponds to the luteal phase, and I am currently in my luteal phase. So I am
Oof.
just all around feeling like, leave me alone.
And you've had
Get
to do
away from
so
me.
much this week.
I know. I've done a lot this week. So yeah, like turning inward, this is a really great time to be like, fuck everybody else. It's all about me.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm working on
absolutely.
myself. Okay. So yeah, I agree. You could say that.
Yes. I love that. So the first what do we want to call these? Do we want to call them steps?
I don't know. I think just basics or different, just
Practices?
foundational things to return to.
Yeah. So the first practice, let's say, is to clear your energy field. So we carry all sorts of feelings, thoughts, and energies with us in our lives, some of which we can pick up as we move through the world on a given day. Maybe you've gotten bad vibes from your boss, or you got into an argument with a friend who was obviously having a bad day, or just like I think we can all relate to the feeling of walking into a room and being like, ooh, the energy has shifted, like something feels different here than it felt in the hallway.
Yeah,
Um
I don't like this.
yeah, exactly. Or like opposite, sometimes you walk into like a room that's really happy and it could like really lift you up. So either way, those things can all like rub off on you and make you feel some type of way. And you don't always need that. Or just at the end, for those of us, if you're into human design, who are projectors or reflectors, or have like a lot of open um, fields, you can really be carrying like a lot with you that isn't yours. And it's just, this is a good practice to kind of put those things down, remove them from your space. And so, not only, like I said, is clearing just great energetic hygiene in general. Personally, I try to do this as a practice when I'm at my ideal peak self. I do this nightly before I go to bed as like part of my bedtime ritual. But also you can do it, like I said, if you have a weird meeting and you get back into your car and you just need a little refresh. Um, so it's just great hygiene. But it also clears a path for your intuition to come through, right? So that when an idea or a download pops in, you actually know it's yours and it's meant for you. So you can clear your energetic field many ways. Personal favorite of mine is simply saying all the energy that is not mine may now leave. 3 times, 5 times, as many times as you need until you feel clear. Super easy. It sounds so easy that like you might doubt that it even works, but it feels really good. Sometimes I say it while I'm washing my hands. That can feel good. I usually do that after I do tarot readings. I like to use both like water clearing and this kind of like verbal. So you can do that, but the intention of clearing your energy is really all that you need. So don't be afraid to get a little bit playful. You can ring a bell, you can clap your hands, you can visualize. I think that this is a really awesome practice to utilize and combine with like your daily or however often, no judgment, like showers or baths. Like I have particular scrubs that I kind of use to like, I imagine all the energy that's not mine just like rolling off and going down the drain. I find that to be really helpful. And like I said, this is a tool that I don't, in an ideal world, I'm using every day just as like a hygienic, but I also rely on it so often in my day to day life when I have like, just some kind of interaction that leaves me feeling not myself. Do you relate to that, Kristen?
Yeah, and I also really like being able to work rituals into everyday things. So
Totally.
that's why I really like, kitchen magic or like using herbs and, things that you have to do anyway that it just makes it a lot easier to work this into your day. So yeah, I love doing stuff like that in the shower and you know, just when you step out, you just feel so much more clear.
Yes, absolutely. And again, it's like that's what that space is for. It's just in a different, like in a different way,
Yeah.
like you're clearing, you're cleaning, you're clearing. So why not add like a more intuitive piece to that? And again, it's like it kind of always leaves me feeling just like a little bit lighter.
Mhm.
I hesitate to say that sometimes it's not necessarily that I feel better or worse. It's not really about that. It's about just feeling more like, okay, I'm like aware now that this is how I'm feeling. Like I can get an
Mhm.
accurate read on my own intuition, my own emotions, and that's a really important first step, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing you can do is to isolate your senses. So this is a practice that you can do. So you know the five senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. So you can try to isolate them, train them to be heightened because intuition is heightened awareness, right? So you can practice tuning in no matter where you are, depending on whether you feel safe or not to only use one of your senses at a time. So one way you can do this is the next time you're well, usually I say when you're in a crowd, but not so much right now. When you're just like outdoors in general, quiet your mind, turn off your phone, take out your earbuds, keep moving while you're focusing on one sense at a time. So obviously do this where you feel safe doing that. Um, so, for instance, focusing on what you smell or maybe the colors that seem to be all around you. When you focus on one color, you start to see it everywhere else. Do you ever do that?
I actually have it. I love that you're saying that just like never thought to do that.
Yeah, and it's I kind of think of it like I used to do this when I was a kid, but when I'm reading too, I used to pick out a letter, and when I would look at that letter, like all the other, like if I looked at an E, all the other E's on the page I felt would stand out more. I don't know
Ooh.
why I did that. It was just like a fun thing I noticed when I was a kid.
Oh my God, I love that.
But that's how your brain works.
Totally.
You could also sit somewhere in public, like at a bench at a park or something, close your eyes. If again, I stress, I always want you to be safe, but feel, put on sunglasses if you don't want to be like the weirdo sitting there with your eyes closed, just so no one notices. When you sit there, you can isolate the sense of sound. So, what conversations do you hear? Are there birds chirping? Are there children playing? Or for smell, does the air smell clean and fresh? Do you smell food coming from somewhere? What does it all sound like? What does it smell like? What does it look like? You can try that for all these different types of situations. So, open your eyes afterwards and try to do the same thing and see if you're able to pick out those things as clearly as you did when your eyes were closed.
Mm.
And we can do this with mindful eating too. So really, I can't, I feel like I've talked about this on the podcast, but I honestly don't remember. So sorry if you've heard this before. But really slowly enjoying your food and using all of your senses to enjoy it. That's another way that you can do it. So just like I said, practical things that you have to eat. So you might as well try this.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, so just slowing down, putting your phone away, turning off the TV, focusing on your food. So using sight to enjoy the presentation of the meal, or maybe not enjoy the presentation of the meal, just see what it looks like, what that makes you feel. The smell, any aroma that it gives off, see if you can pick out any particular foods that you smell in there. With taste, see if you can pick out any different flavors, try to use different words to describe it more than just delicious.
Yeah.
That can always be really difficult. The
That
texture.
really, sorry, that just totally made me think. This is like such a sidebar, but like totally just made me think of that show Next Food Network Star when they're like trying to be on Food Network and they're like,
Oh yeah.
you have to learn how to describe food. You can't just be like, it's good, it's yummy, it's delicious.
Yeah. I was just thinking like with food writing, it like food
Yeah.
good food writing is really hard to find because you have to have such different descriptors. And a lot of people don't have a big vocabulary or a big enough vocabulary to describe things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like it just does, like you said, that's part of deepening your own experience is like going and really inviting yourself to get more specific. It's
Yeah.
not only a good like vocabulary exercise, but it really invites you to tune in.
Yeah, and just be present.
Yeah.
And you can continue with the texture of food. That can be your sense of touch, or any chewing, crunching, sizzling. That's your sense of sound.
Ooh.
So, yeah, so take the time to really experience the food in a way that you're not always fully present for. And one that can benefit you, like just food wise, changing the experience of your meal, see how that helps you with satisfaction of your meal. But for intuitive purposes, you know, beginning to notice your noticing is a powerful way to really hone your intuition. And it can help you tune into messages that are always there, but that you typically ignore. So it can help with intuitive eating and also any other purpose of your intuition.
Yeah, totally. I use this one a lot, like when I'm like we said at the top, kind of having a hard time deciphering like what is anxiety and what is intuition, or like,
Mm,
what is like worry. I find that this is such a, like we are saying, like such a grounding, present making process, that it really helps you get clear on, because anxiety and those things are like worrying about things in the future worrying, that this can be really helpful to just like be where you are. So if you're someone who that's kind of one of the things that's stopping you from working with your intuition because you're either worried about like what you'll uncover, or it like triggers your anxiety or feels confusing with anxiety, I would definitely recommend starting here. It's been really helpful for me personally.
awesome.
um, Number three, this is like a tried and true, but meditation. There's a reason everybody says meditation is magic. Um, even just a few moments of intentional, quiet breath can really help encourage your intuition. You can imagine it just like creating a bit of spaciousness in your mind for those intuitive visions or ideas, or however your intuition likes to communicate with you, to come through. And so you can just close your eyes and sit comfortably, breathe deeply in through your nose, out through your mouth. I always say, like, breathe that way, like you're trying to fog up a mirror in front of you. So you should be able to kind of hear your out breath at the beginning. You'll settle into a more natural pace, but I always find that to be a helpful visualization for
Mm.
kind of clearing breaths. And, if your mind wanders, simply notice it, come back to your breath. Obviously, there's a lot of amazing guided meditations out there. Personally, love an insight timer.
Oh, I love Insight Timer. I was
Yeah.
just going to ask you if you use any apps.
Yes, I love Insight Timer. They have great guided meditations. They also have really great, just like sounds if you want to have something on in the background. But also sometimes, like for meditation, especially when for me, when I'm getting back into the practice, and I'm someone who definitely struggles with, like, if I haven't been in a meditation practice, I find that my mind wanders so much that just counting your breaths is like a really, really great place to start. And again, like these tips are going to sound super simple and straightforward, but they're meant to be. Like working with your intuition is not like cracking the nuclear codes. Like we should be able to do it this easily. It's just about finding and committing to making that space. And so, yeah, you could just start with 5 or 10 minutes of meditation daily. I personally like to meditate in the morning. Kristen, do you meditate?
Yeah, I wish I did it more. I want I want it to be part of my official morning routine, and I
Yeah.
have been doing it I think I talked a little bit a few episodes back about how I was doing my morning routine where I was like leaving my phone in another room overnight and like I would meditate before I started work.
Mm.
And that's that's fallen off the last couple weeks just because I've been so focused on the membership program. But yeah, I really want to get back into that again because it was nice. It was nice. I would do my morning routine and then I would meditate right before I started work so that I kind of, there was like a bridge.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I prefer it in the morning. I know some people like to meditate in the evening. I like it as a first morning practice. I'm not great right out of bed, so it's nice to kind of ease into the day that way.
Yeah, yeah, I can't do it right after I wake up. I'll fall back to sleep.
Yeah, so but yeah, meditating really like helps clear the clutter from your brain, and allows intuition to speak up. I also find that like if you're new to meditating, or again if you're just like getting back into a practice after a bit of a hiatus, I think it's also just a really fascinating exploration of like how your brain works, that like you can notice yourself having thoughts, which means that like there's multiple things happening at once. You know what I mean? I think
Hmm.
we think of our brain as like, or think of our thoughts as that's all that kind of is happening, if you know what I mean. Like, but the fact that you can be like, oh, I just drifted off and I'm watching myself have these unrelated, making your to do list, making your grocery list, like in the back of your head. The fact that you can notice them is like showing this other side of your awareness that you have access to. And I think that in and of itself is, again, like a key to intuitive practice.
Yeah, the
Does that make sense?
noticing is the practice, and you want
Yeah,
to notice your intuition. So it's
exactly.
it all makes sense.
Yes,
So the next thing is to invite your intuition in. Intuition just wants to be invited to the party. It's
true.
just yeah, it's just like a friend, right? The less you pay attention to it, the more it'll fade away. We don't want to do that to our friends. We love our friends.
Yeah.
So actually acknowledging it brings it back to your attention and puts you in the right frame of mind. Especially, I mean, we were just talking about how we've sort of fallen out of practice a little bit. And that has definitely happened a lot throughout life because life happens. So just knowing that you can always invite it back in is really nice. It's never going to leave you completely. We can just straight up ask to hear from our intuition. So simply just say, silently or out loud, depending on where you are, that you're open to receiving messages. So whatever way you want to say it, this can be done, before a meditation or journaling, before a big meeting, brainstorming your next creative project, whenever you need that extra boost, that extra like cosmic guidance,
Yes.
that's a good time to do it. So, doing this can really help it come through more clearly and prepare you to pick up on those messages. And yeah, it's just a way to mentally prepare yourself to receive.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think that, like, again, this is something that's like so underrated. And I definitely, like, in my practice doing tarot readings or like having intuitive sessions with clients or things like that, like, this is such an important piece. Like, I know I always have access to my intuition. I've worked for years to like develop that, whether I'm in current practice or not. Again, there's some dust I need to shake off right now, but it's not totally gone. Um, but it's amazing just like the difference that is made by that invitation, by just saying like I'm open to receiving it, or this is like where I really need guidance. It's really powerful, and it's really, you can think of it as like a creative partner for you. um, and again, be like specific if you'd like, or if you're just kind of working on things, like, you can have a little bit of fun with it. I think that that can always be like helpful if you're using like a tool like a tarot deck or an oracle deck, or um, crystals, or pendulums, or any of those fun things that we all love, then that's really helpful. But even if you're just sitting down to journal or brainstorm, it's really interesting to see the potency that happens, I think, if you ask.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned tarot too. Like that's another way that you can work with your intuition.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we've talked about this before, so I won't say it again, but it is just another way to hear whatever is going on in your head, different perspectives of whatever is going on in there. It's a good way to invite it in.
Yes, absolutely. I need to do that more often. And lastly, I think that, again, underrated, honoring and capturing what your intuition has to say to you.
Hmm.
Like, we're all for acting on your intuition, of course, but sometimes we have thoughts or ideas or visions that don't make total sense to us yet, or maybe even feel random, or can't be made into reality right at this moment. Like, sometimes I have intuitive hits like while I'm driving, and I'm like, all right, like, I'm not going to reach back and get my phone and call that person right now, so I need to, whatever, like, make a little mental note or do whatever. Um, it's really important to just write those things down, and again, start to identify how your intuition is communicating with you, because as we covered on the first episode of Everyone is an Intuitive, um, it can be different, right? There's all these different, you could be visual, you could be sound, all those things. So it's really important to honor your intuition by capturing its unique brilliance. Um, we are both really big fans of having a note in your phone to capture pings. I think when we were, um, brainstorming for this episode, we both realized that we have that. We have like a note in our phone that's like, call this person or this idea, or randomly keep thinking about this song. Like, just things that you're like, that's interesting. Do you still keep that, Kristen?
Yeah, I do. And I also have words that I keep coming across.
Ooh.
So, like, I'll think of, or like if I'm reading or something or watching TV, I'll hear a word that stands out to me that, like, maybe just a random word that I just haven't heard in a long time or something like, oh, people don't normally say that.
Yeah.
And then, then I'll read it or hear it on TV again, like very shortly after. I'm like, what is this word trying to tell me? Like
Mm,
I'm sure, like who knows? Maybe it could mean something, maybe it doesn't. So I try to keep track of that too. So just little
I love that.
coincidences like that. It's nice to see if there's anything that comes out of it. So that's why we
Yeah,
keep a log.
absolutely. Yes. Yeah, just like again, it's like you're getting to know this thing. So like finding the ways to be like, oh, like I don't know. I find that very satisfying. It's funny. I feel like that's kind of the relationship I have with my intuition where I'm like, oh, that's what you were trying to do. Like actually I had this happen the other day. This is kind of a sidebar, but I was driving um to see a client and all of a sudden out of literally nowhere, my brain was like, I think your license is expired. And I was like, oh yeah, like of course I'm like literally having this conversation with like in my own head. I'm like, oh yeah, but I think I got a letter that because of COVID, you can't go in, you can't get it renewed and whatever, so they extended it. And I was like, okay, I've got to make sure that I check, was it October 1st or was it November 1st that is like the new deadline? And so I was like, that was really weird that I like thought of that so randomly. I mean, I was driving, but I had been thinking about something else all morning. And then lo and behold, your girl got pulled over.
No. Oh no.
And so I like get pulled over. I'm like, fuck. Sorry, everyone, if you don't like swears. But like literally, I like gave him my license and then immediately, like as he was walking back to the car, like, and I'm praying that there isn't an issue. I'm like Googling on my phone, like how I'm like, was my license expired? And of course it was luckily or not of course. Luckily it was not. It was November 1st, but I was just like, oh, that was my intuition being like, you're going to get pulled over later. Maybe that's not true, but that's what I choose to believe because that's
Maybe you
kind of
were
how it
just
works.
maybe you were speeding and that's why you thought that you were gonna get pulled over.
No,
Wait,
but I didn't think I was going to get pulled over.
why did
I
you
thought
get
about
pulled
my
over?
license.
Why did you get pulled over?
Oh, fucking taking, like, going straight from a right hand turn lane.
Oh, come on.
So lame. Like, not to be a jerk, but, well, actually, to be a jerk, fuck you, Swampscott cop. But, like, it was such a lame, like truly there was no one around and there weren't signs and it was just painted on the street and I was already in the lane, but I didn't like it was just so silly.
Did you get a ticket?
No, he just gave me a warning and then kept me for like 15 minutes to give me a lecture. And I was
Oh,
like,
that's annoying.
honestly, just give me a ticket.
Is it true? Do you know if it's true? I mean, it was the end of the month, right? So I feel
Yes.
that I've always heard that like at the end of the month they have to like meet their quota or something. Is that
I
really true?
know. I've heard that too. I'm not sure. And like obviously it was like such a non-issue, but I just it ironically too, Dean and I had been talking for like a week before about how I haven't gotten pulled over since I was like 18.
Really? I haven't either. Well,
And then there I was thinking about my license being expired and then a mere few hours later,
the one
I was like,
time I
"Damn
got
it."
pulled over, I was leaving my job at a movie theater. I drove a minivan.
Oh my god.
I must have just got my license, so 16 or 17. And I had left work and I was like speeding to go meet my friends at Applebee's.
Oh my god, this is like take me back to a moment of youth that I just like love so much.
But I got pulled over. This is like, oh God, I didn't even make it like 2 minutes down the road before because I was racing to
Oh
meet
my
my
god, in
friends.
your minivan.
I had to be at Applebee's. And the cop pulled me over and I told him I have my period.
Oh, because that makes you speed?
Yeah, I was like, I just got my period and I have to get home.
Oh my god, did he buy it?
Yeah. I
Oh my
mean,
god.
I don't know if he bought it, but it was like the first time I had ever been pulled over. I was so young. He was probably like, he gave me a warning. Like, who knows if he believed me or not, but he definitely was
That is
uncomfortable, which is the
hilarious.
point.
I will say, like, yeah, I mean, trust me, anyone who's ever driven with me, like, I deserve to get pulled over more than I do. And there's probably a lot of factors to that. And but I will say, like, when this guy pulled me over, I literally, when he came up, you know how they're like, do you know why I pulled you over? I literally was like, I have no idea. Like I genuinely, and he was like, you went straight from a right hand turn. I was like, I genuinely don't even think I realized that that was a turn only lane. And I didn't know you
Sir,
could pull me
where
over
am
for that.
I?
Yeah, I'm like, ugh, God, whatever. Anyways, you guys, maybe if I had thought about that when I thought about my license earlier and written it down, I would have been like, you know what? Something might happen today with your car and your license, and it would suck to get pulled over. So drive safe. But I didn't. So, anyways, when you have those intuitive hits, it's really important to, yeah, like keep a note in your phone. I really like voice notes too. I think those can be helpful. Or, like, if you want to have a journaling practice at the end of the day, or for a while, instead of, I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but like, I I like the idea of like reviewing your day or like having kind of a gratitude practice, but I always need there to be like a little bit more substance to it. And for a while I was actually recording like intuitive hits and what they ended up meaning, you know, or what I perceived them to mean kind of at the end of the day, like what did my intuition tell me today? And that was kind of a nice thing if you don't have time to like maybe do it in the moment, kind of trains you to hold on to those things and write them down later. So, this is all of the random ideas, songs popping into your head, anything that's like recurring, like Kristen was saying, words you're noticing, um, all that kind of stuff. Write it down, record it so you can revisit it later. Our intuition speaks to us more often when it knows that we're listening. And it's a great practice to, again, just encourage your intuition by showing it like, hey, I'm paying attention.
Yeah,
Doesn't that feel good?
just like I said, it's just like a friend. It'll speak to you more when it knows you're listening.
Right. How many of you brilliant listeners are in a position where you work with people, maybe at your job or you're an entrepreneur or whatever, and occasionally you are giving instructions? How annoying is it when that person, or when you're at a restaurant and people don't write your order down? Do you
Oh my
think,
God.
oh, I'm sure that they're going to remember? No, you have doubt. So your intuition is doubting you. You know what I mean, though? Like, oh, I'm the classic, like, do you want to write this down?
Yeah. Are you
Not at a
sure you've
restaurant.
got that?
I actually have pretty good faith in people in the service industry, but like, it's trying to give you important information here. You might want to record it.
Good tips.
Great tips. I think that this is just really making me be like, maybe we can all do these together and like get back into the swing of things, because I think we're going to really need to rely on our intuition going into this winter reflective season. It's a great time to like, I know we're in fall now, but getting ready for the more internal, intuitive, feminine half of the year, you know, fall and winter. We're really focused on that inner voice and reconnecting with ourselves. So it's a great time to rebuild.
Yeah, and if you try any of these practices, I mean, the best part of it is it's all free. It's all free.
Hell
You can
yeah.
do it whenever you want, and it'll always be there when you're ready for it. So that's what we love about it. And if you want to try any of these this week, tell us how it feels. Like obviously it's a practice, so it's not going to be, I mean, not always, but it's not always going to be like an immediate thing right away. But if you do try it this week or over the next few weeks, we'd love for you to tell us how it goes and, the types of things that you've been writing down, what came of them. Tell us everything. We love to hear from you.
Yes. That's a great way to honor your intuition. Tell us
Yeah.
what it says.
You know what? Other people might not care, but we totally will.
Yes. We want to know.
Yeah, so you can send us those messages. You can email us at itsjustaphasepod@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram at itsjustaphasepod. And if you liked what you heard today, if you get those intuitive messages and you find out that you are a magical human being, amazing person. You are anyway, but we'd love for you to leave a review on iTunes if you feel so inclined. It helps people like you find our show, and we appreciate you being here.
We really do. We appreciate you as much as we appreciate our intuition, and that's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. Oh, We love you.
We love you. Take care.